Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Abriana. Thank you for clicking on this video. Let's get started. As you can see by the title, this was the day that my twin sister's husband held me at gunpoint. Honestly, let's just get right into it. So to give our story a setting, this happened in California. It was a normal day. In California. I stayed in San Diego and my sister lived in Temecula. I was to and from her house a lot during this time. Our bond really grew because I hadn't seen her for like 3 years at this point, and of course I missed her. Anyways, I was in between from her house to my house, and on this particular day, this was the first week of April, her son was just born on the 23rd of March. I was just there to help her. She has an older child, 3 at the time, and she had just had my nephew 2 weeks before, and she had him via C-section. So I would go up there literally every day, and I would just help her with the kids, just spend time with her. I would help her clean the house. I mean, let's just be honest, she has a toddler, a 2-year-old. She had just had a newborn, and so I would always, my main thing would be to go up there, get the floors clean for her, and just tidy up where I could. But it was not a big deal for me. It was just a way that I could help care for my sister in this time of her life. My sister and her husband, I guess, I didn't even know that they were having problems, but I found out after the fact that they were in fact having problems during this time, which I guess would make more sense now looking back on why this happened, but whatever. So basically I'm there, we're hanging out, her and her husband are having problems. He's been staying at his mom's house the past couple days that week, and I don't even know, I know it was over his stereo, but I don't know what happened. And he had told my sister, I guess, I didn't hear the conversation, I was in the other room with her 2 kids when she was on the phone with him, so I didn't really know what they were talking about, but I never felt the need to know, I never felt the need to be in the conversation or oh, what are you guys talking about? I'm out in the living room with the kids. She comes out of the room and she's like, oh, we'll call him, what are we gonna name him, guys? We'll call him D. She comes out the room and she's like, well, D's gonna be here in a couple minutes. He's coming to pick up his stereo. I didn't think anything of it, and I was like, all right, cool. And then she's like, oh, when he comes, do you want to just go in the room? And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, just take, I don't want to say his name. She's like, just take the baby and go in the room and he won't see you. And I'm like, what do you mean so he won't see me? I didn't know that she was having problems with him that had to do with me. At this point, I'm oblivious to that fact. So when she's like, oh, you can go in the room with the baby, and I'm like, why would I do that? Whatever. Totally just let it roll off my back. I didn't think twice about it. I did think twice, and then I was like, okay, whatever. She's just freaking weird. I didn't know what she was talking about. I didn't end up going in the room. What she did was, after, I don't know when she got the thought, but she's like, I'm just gonna put it outside the door so he doesn't have to come inside. And knowing that they were having problems, knowing that I don't want to say I knew he was abusive, but I knew that he could have a short temper, I'll say. And so when she said that, she's like, oh, I just want to put it outside the door so he can just grab it and go, because he says he doesn't even want to talk to me. He's just he's just coming to pick that up. My mind, I'm thinking, okay, cool. Rationally, that makes sense. Okay, they're having problems. Maybe she was worried he was gonna get physical. I don't know. So she put it outside. Now, mind you, in my head, I thought she had communicated this with him. However, of course, he gets to the door and he's furious. Now, she left the door locked. She didn't unlock the door for him. She put the stuff out there, locked the door, and we were just in the house, chilling, whatever. We knew he was coming, but I assumed that she had spoken with him and told him, it'll be out on the front porch for you, and he's like, okay, cool, I'll be on the way. Click. That's the type of conversation I expected that they had had, but it wasn't, obviously. So he gets there, and he's furious. And the reason I can tell he's furious is because I hear him yelling in the hallway outside of the door. And then I mean, he's freaking he's trying to kick the door down, essentially. He's stomping, like, banging on the door, kicking the door, and you can visibly see the door, like, being pushed in from the outside. And she's like, oh my God, I'm about to open the door, that he's gonna break the door off the hinge, like, then we're gonna get kicked out of the apartment. I'm sure she was thinking. So whatever, or who knows, maybe she was really that scared of him and she opened the door for him. But I do know that the minute she opened the door, like, she screamed and she could only get half of her scream out. When I saw him come in, he had a 9mm handgun in her face. She's looking down the barrel. And I knew at that point, I had it, like, a freaking light in my head went off. Well, obviously the gun was right there in our faces, but it just reminded me the fact he previously licensed a gun. It was probably like around February he had got the pistol, and we could understand like why. And then we didn't know why he was getting a gun, but he also tried to tell my sister, like, oh, it's for protection, it's to protect me, you, and the kids. So it was easily brushed off, whatever. But it instantly, like, when I saw the gun, I was like, oh my God, I forgot he had a gun. It was like, okay, all right. I mean, that wasn't my first time seeing a gun or being around guns or in an environment where guns are being drawn on people. So it didn't really, like, I didn't take it as serious as I should have. And of course, like, he was walking in the house, like, I don't know if maybe at first I'm thinking like like she's in here with someone else and he's gonna see it's me and he's gonna be like, oh, okay, it's just Aubrey, like, it's not a problem. Like, I didn't know. So I'm like waiting for the boil over, basically, like, for him to come in with the gun and then be like, oh shit, like, I'm tripping. But no, he comes in the door, pushes my sister to the floor. They're going, like, because of course he's mad at her. So as soon as she opens the door, he's like basically firing off on her. He's hitting her. And I've never seen him, I had never seen him act like this. Like, she had told me stories like, oh, he has a short temper, he yelled at me or whatever. Like, you know how sisters do confide. But I never saw it. I never saw what he was doing to my sister, and it broke my heart because, like, my sister didn't even defend herself. And that's just how I knew, like, this had been happening for a while. Like, she probably knows the only solution to this problem right now is to just not fight back. And, like, that broke my heart in a whole nother way, but whatever. So he pushes her, whatever. So we're in the living room and he's walking but before he makes it towards the kitchen, a little bit further back, like closer to the front door, is the laundry, like, area. And I just see him manage to get my sister into the like that little corner area, and hits her, pistol fucking whips her. I see her fuck the floor, like, and I just see her cowering, like, in the fucking corner. And I'm really thinking to myself, like, what the fuck? And so at this point, I'm like, hold on, nigga. Like, no, you need to fucking stop. Fucking time the fuck out. Like, no. So at this point, I'm yelling at him, like, what the fuck? Like, I realize she's not gonna fucking stick up for herself. So fuck, let me say something. Like, and mind you, I'm holding her 2-week-old newborn. As all of this is going down, I was holding the baby before I even knew, like, he was here, about to knock on the door, about to bang the door down. Like, I had the baby, I had my nephew in my arms. So this is all going on, and here's me with my nephew, and I see my sister over there. She's not doing anything, and I'm like, hold on, D. I'm like, you really lost your fucking mind. And holding the newborn, of course, this nigga then takes the attention off of my sister. Now the attention's on me. Walks towards me, and he's pointing the gun in my face. So he now has the gun at my forehead, touching my forehead, in between my eyes, and he's like, you know what, you can get the fuck out of my house. Just get the fuck out of my house. And I'm like, all right, bet. Like, I guess I was in shock at what I just saw happening to my sister, that I was like, okay, cool. Like, all right. I don't know. Like, I don't know. So I'm like, all right, bet. Like, the fuck? And so, like, I lean towards him, like, here, take your son. And he wouldn't, like, open, like, you know, if I have your kid and I go towards you, like, here, take him, like, you're just gonna naturally, like, put your arms out. That nigga, he's like, no, I don't want that shit. And, like, with the gun goes, like, do away with it. Like, I don't want that shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that threw me for a loop. So I'm, like, not thinking rationally at this point. I'm like, what the, huh? And so I'm like, what the fuck? So my sister had, like, a little Moses basket. It's a bassinet. I think it's called a bassinet. And so I just put the baby in the bassinet and I put him in the room, like, in the room behind. Meanwhile, so all this is going on. I guess the neighbors are already calling the cops. They're already on the fucking phone with the cops because they just know. I guess they know what the deal is, that this nigga been beating her, and, like, when they hear this, just to call the cops because it's been happening so often when I'm not there. Whatever. And so cops are called. Now at this point, his exact words to me is just, get the fuck out of my house. Like, get the fuck out. So I proceed to put his kid in the little Moses basket and push the little Moses basket into the room where the 2-year-old's already fucking in the closet, like, scared, fucking traumatized in the corner, like, which I can completely understand. So I put the baby in the room in there too, like, fuck, let me just get this baby out of the fucking line of fire at this point. And so I guess the neighbors had called the cops, but I didn't know that his mom had drove him over there. I wasn't thinking, like, I wasn't thinking anything about this, but I didn't think that his mom drove him over there. Like, I thought he drove on his own. But that's not the case. His mom ended up driving him over there, and I guess she was parked so close to the apartment door out, like, down the hallway, that she could hear the commotion and hear what was going on. And so she comes running in as I'm putting on my shit. Like, I wasn't even, like, I didn't sit there and grab my shoes and sit down and put my shoes on. Like, this nigga, he obviously don't care about his fucking wife. He obviously don't care about his newborn. He definitely don't care about my life. I wasn't gonna play in his face and sit down on his couch and put my shoes on. Like, no. I'm putting my boots, like, I'm trying to slip my Ugg boots on as I'm walking out the door. So as I'm doing that, getting my boots on, walking out the fucking door, his mom's coming in the house. And his mom comes in and she's grabbing me by the shoulders, and she's trying to, like, observe the scene and see what was going on. And she sees she sees my sister, like, cowered in the fucking corner. She could see her son with the fucking gun pointed at me. Like, she's, like, grabbing me I just remember her grabbing me by the shoulders, and she's like, don't leave, just go out and go to my car and wait for me. And I was thinking to myself, like, for a split second, I almost did it. But then, you know how, like, when your gut tells you, bitch, get the fuck on and fuck anything else at that point? Like, that's just what I was on high fucking alert. Like, I'm on high alert. This nigga tripping. Like, something's not. I just knew something wasn't right. Like, it just wasn't right. And when his mom did that, I'm like, okay. I told her, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll meet you at your car. Not a problem. But nigga, no. First thing, no, hell no. I got it out of my car so motherfucking quick. I got in my car. I fucking get in my car. And mind you, I'm in Temecula, which is a good 30-45 minute drive from North County, San Diego, where I was living. And I'm shook up. At this point, I'm in the car. At this point, I'm crying in the car. Like, what the fuck did I just leave my sister and my newborn nephew and my niece in? Like, what the fuck? Like, I couldn't just, what the fuck was just filling my head. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I just couldn't even think at that point of anything other than what the fuck. Like, how could this happen? So as I'm driving home, just replaying the scene in my head, replaying it in my fucking head. my sister calls me. And I answer it. Of course, like, I was concerned if she was okay, if she was gonna even still be alive after I left the house. Like, I was just really worried about her. And so I answered the phone, and what my sister said was, I took his house key and he won't be coming back, so can you come back and spend time with me? And I couldn't. I could not. I couldn't, because she couldn't even defend herself. Like, she couldn't defend herself. She couldn't defend her 2 kids. She can't defend me. I'm not gonna put myself in that situation. And so this time, my sister, she wasn't working. I'm gonna just say, like, she wasn't paying the rent. Dee was paying the rent. That was Dee's apartment. So the fact that she's like, oh, I took his keys, he knows not to come back here. In my head, I just knew, like, he was gonna be back. Your husband's gonna be back. That's his apartment. Like, your husband's gonna be back. That's his apartment that he pays for. It's not yours, and you don't have the right to tell him not to come back. So what really hit me was the fact that this was not even 20 minutes after this whole ordeal had just happened. Like, when I really thought this nigga was gonna shoot me while I was holding his 2-week-old newborn baby. And I just couldn't fathom the fact that my sister was really asking me to come back and put myself in that type of situation. But I guess looking back, I can understand when she lived in that situation 24/7. There's a sickness that kind of, like, coincides with being in a relationship with someone like that. And so I can understand that she might not have realized the full scope of what had happened. But I didn't speak to my sister after that. 2 years, I didn't speak to my sister because of what her husband had did. But I missed her. I missed her so much. That was my best friend. I missed her, and eventually we ended up getting back in contact with each other. And we finally had a conversation that we needed to have, and that was about this day. And I found out that Dee was on meth back then. That he was smoking meth. And he wasn't himself. He wasn't logically himself. Like, and that put chills down my spine when she told me. I mean, I knew something had to be, like, I knew something was off. I knew something wasn't right. I never would have thought that it was meth. But what's so scary about that is because that he was on that drug, he didn't give a fuck. He didn't care that that was his wife. He didn't care that I was his wife's sister. He didn't care that I was holding his 2-week-old infant, like, newborn child. None of that mattered to him. None of that mattered to the drug. And it wasn't him. He became the drug. And it's really sad to say, but where now I know that because he was on meth, it happened. So it's hard. It's still hard to talk about this situation after it's already been 3-4 years now. It's so scary to think that someone else could have completely altered my life, completely changed my life. They could have that day. And so after she told me that he was doing the drugs, she also confided in me the fact that she would use me to make her husband mad. She would say, oh, well, I'm gonna go find somebody else to be with Aubrey. She's gonna take me out and we're gonna meet guys, and just things that you shouldn't be saying to your husband unless you do want to warrant some type of negative response. And the thing is, I didn't know that I was being used as something to irritate him, to piss him off, to get under his skin. So I had no inclination to the fact that every time I would come over, he would be upset that I was there, because my sister would tell him that I was going to be helping her cheat on him, or that I was going to be like just a bad influence on her and cause her to do these things. Like, but she never told me she was doing that. And it's so scary to think that she essentially took my life in her hands at that point, messing with her husband like that, like using me to get under his skin. And I had no clue, and I would go up there just wanting to see my sister, just wanting to be around her. And I was only there to make her husband mad. Like, it gets to me to this day. It still hurts. It really hurts. And like I said, we had that conversation and we talked about it after me not talking to her. But now we don't talk anymore because my sister is mad that I told her family members what happened that day. She's ashamed that they know the truth about what she had to endure. And she chooses not to speak to me because of it, because I decided to tell them what I experienced that day. And it wasn't like I didn't go to them and be like, oh my God, guess what happened? Like, oh my God, this happened. Like, no, I was explaining it's my truth too. It's my story. Like, I was a part of it. I feel like I have a right to tell what I experienced that day. It's not like she told me a secret and I spread, like, she told me a scenario that had happened and asked me to keep it secret, and I opened my big ass mouth, like, and she never once said, can we not talk about this? Like, so I was just telling something that I had been through. As simple as I'm doing it now for this video, I was just saying something that I had went through. And so she doesn't speak to me now because of that. So that's the time that my twin sisters has held me at gunpoint, and why I no longer speak to her. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you guys have ever been through anything similar, let me know down in the comments below how you worked it out with your loved one and how you guys were able to move past it. I hope to see you in my next video.